Alright guys, so hopefully the lighting's not really bad in here. It's looking dark outside. Today I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. I do know for sure that right now I'm about to go to Walmart and get some distilled water, and I'm going to begin flushing the coolant on the Golf because it's pretty nasty in there. I have to get some distilled water. I'll probably get about 3 gallons of distilled water, maybe 4, and then I'm gonna get later today I'm gonna drive like an hour away, because only one place within 100 miles of my house has this stuff. I'm gonna go get some M12 coolant for this. It's specific to this, like it's what this car has to have in it, otherwise the heads deteriorate and stuff. So I'm gonna get some distilled water. I'm gonna do a drain and fill here at the house, fill it with distilled water all the way up, and I'm gonna put some coolant flush in there as well. And I'm gonna drive up to the place where the M12 is at. I'm gonna buy that, and then the drive there and back, I should flush the coolant should actually do its job a little bit. And I'll drain and fill it a couple more times with distilled water until it starts coming out clear. So I'll probably end up buying maybe 6-7 gallons of distilled water so I can get all this shit that's in there out, and then finally have clean coolant. Also, we're probably going to be doing lights on this thing. I need to get some front turn signals, and I have a plan for that. I need to rewire the entire back end. I don't have front turn signals yet. I need to rewire the headlights. Like, all the lights pretty much need to be gone through and redone. So I'll probably be doing that today. And then there's a possibility that the new grill I bought for this car might come in the mail today as well. So we also have that. But, yeah, I guess I'll get back with you guys once I'm actually draining the coolant, and I'll show you guys exactly how nasty this stuff is. Good morning, everybody. Alright, so I have got back home now, and it's daylight, so you guys will be able to see now as well. Here's my 6 gallons of distilled water. Our Walmart actually really stepped up their distilled water game a little bit. 2 gallons should be enough. Here's this good stuff. And then I had to buy one of these because I don't have like an open drain pan like that. So you guys will get to see in the daylight at least what my coolant looks like right now. It's pretty gross. Doesn't look like coolant has been mixed, at least, because the coolant's not getting like all sludgy and gummed up. But it is really gross. It's not red or pink anymore like it's supposed to be. So let's get this propped open. I think since my driveway has this little drop right here, I might be able to actually reach under the car and get to the drain plug wherever it may be without using jacks to get underneath the car. I don't even know if this car has a drain plug, really. I think it does, probably. Doesn't have a radiator cap. The only way to add coolant is through this little doohickey right here. Hope I don't just burn myself opening this. Whew. Okay. And there might be some coolant in here since this thing is warmed all the way up. Oh, yeah, there is. Oh, it smells bad. I smelled the cap. And it's a little bit pink in there still, but it's also very brown and gross, and it's not really a good thing. So the hole where my blinkers are supposed to be does make for a pretty convenient access hole to the lower radiator hose. And come on, there it is. We are on the clamp. Okay, this radiator hose clamp is a pain in the ass, so I'm gonna have to do this with both hands here. So I'll be back in a moment. Oh yeah, look at that. That is some good quality stuff right there, isn't it? That stuff's supposed to be either red or pink, and it's pretty far from either one of those colors. I did spill a little bit, so I'll have to wash that off the driveway before any animals come and drink it. Even though I don't think this nasty stuff would attract anything to it, because the smell almost made me throw up when I was down there pulling the hose off. So, but I'll be nice and I'll wash it out of here anyway. But yeah, look at that. That is just fantastic. Let's see. I'm gonna get this hose hooked back up, and then I'll pour the flush in first. And the only way to add coolant to this car is to pour it into this. Gross. Pour it into there while the car is running, and it will suck it in, and then it will bleed itself out as well in the process. So I need to put that in first so that all of the flush gets sucked in while I'm adding more water to it at the same time. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my coolant hose right here a little bit so I can bring it forward and get this kink out of it just a tiny bit, because that's not really a good thing to have. Kinks in radiator hoses aren't fun. So I'm going to do all that, and then I'll probably film pouring the water into it, because it's kind of a satisfying thing to watch, at least in my opinion. So I'll be back in just a little. Alright, so my hose cutting skills aren't exactly on point, but it'll work. The hose clamp is fully wrapped around the hose. It doesn't like miss anywhere. It's all tight. It's in front of the little hump, so this is good enough for now. At least the kink is gone, so I don't have to worry about not having sufficient cooling. So first thing we need to do is just try to pour some coolant into it right now, because the lower hose is on. Okay, which we will hopefully be fixing today as well. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Who needs a funnel? Funnels are for bitches. Is this thing really drinking that shit up too? Damn. Oh, there's another hose underneath. I never noticed that. This overflow container has a second hose on the bottom of it, I think. Well, that explains a lot actually now. I can hear it going into the radiator too. I hear bubbles. Bubbles. Let's let it burp for a little bit. And it should be about done dripping out of here. So let's move this so we can see if there is anything pouring out. Oh God, that is so disgusting. Look at that. It's like orange. Oh, come on. Don't get hung up on stuff. I don't want to spill this. Okay, the bottom, there's like a lip on the bottom of this container and it just got stuck. Alright, there is actually a floaty in there too. There's a few floaties in there. That is disgusting. Let's see if we can. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just fantastic. That's disgusting. I didn't pour. Oh, really? I just fucked myself. I didn't pour the flush in there. Oh, well. Easy there. It is pissing water up the top now, at least. I'm gonna I'll wait a minute and see if it goes up or down. It's gonna start blowing bubbles out after a little bit, probably. Yeah, there is a hose attached to the bottom. Can't believe I hadn't noticed that. I feel like an idiot. Oh, there's some frothiness. Froth. There's more floaties in there. What the fuck? Alright. I need to pour this shit in there, but I need to run it and see, let it air out a little bit. Only 1 gallon went in there. That is nuts. Wow. I'm gonna leave it. I can hear it shooting bubbles out of there, so I'm gonna let it run and warm up a little bit, see if that water level goes down. I'm gonna pour that nasty stuff in that water container. I'm gonna hose the driveway off so that no innocent animals come and drink that nasty shit, because that stuff's gross. I really didn't mean to spill that stuff. But what can you do? I tried. At least I didn't spill the whole container of it right there on the... Yep, I'll be back in a little bit. I might drain and fill it one more time. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, so here's the results from round 1. Pretty dark, pretty nasty. Looked nastier when it was in the pan. The container kind of discolors it a little bit. Results from round 2. And it doesn't look any different. So it's going to take a couple tries. I can only get about a gallon out of it. About half of it ends up spilling on the ground. A gallon and a half maybe. out of it at a time. So it's going to take a few cycles through, especially with everything that's in the heater core. So second round I did put the flush in there, so I'm going to drive the car all the way out to about an hour away from my house so I can go and get the M12 it needs. Drive it back. At that point the flush should have cycled through pretty much everything, broken all of the nasty stuff that could more easily be broken free loose, and have it floating around in there, so I'll be able to drain everything out and fill it, drain fill until I finally have at least something cleaner than what's in there coming back out of it. So I'm gonna head up there and get that stuff, and then I'll be back here and we will continue flushing this nasty shit out of my car. Alright, so I got the coolant right there. Alright, so I just got back to the house actually a little bit ago, but I went and I had something to eat and just sat down for a little bit because I've been running around all morning. But I got all the stuff. I guess I only need one thing technically. I need a coolant. There's a project for later laying in the seat. It's the stuff for the wiring for the lights. But there's my water and the M12 stuff. The stuff was 24 bucks a gallon. I bought 3 gallons so I don't have to drive an hour away from my house again for more of this stuff. This car takes like, I think 4 gallons of water about, so I'm just gonna drain and fill it with this distilled water until I run out of water or it starts coming out clear, and then I'm gonna drain it one more time and put that concentrate in, and then we should be alright. I can only drain about half the coolant out of this thing at a time anyway, like per drain, so doing it that way, as long as even if it has a little bit more of the M12 in it than like water, if it's not a perfect 50-50, that's fine. That's better than not having enough M12, enough antifreeze in it. So I'm going to do that. Probably not going to film it because it's going to be kind of boring. We've already been going through this, but I will show you guys what the coolant looks like after each flush. I showed you everything from earlier and they both look pretty much identical, so I probably won't bring those back out, but I will show you the other 4. So I'm going to get to that, and then we'll see what I got going on later. Alright guys, so the Golf is running. I just started it to flush more coolant out of it, but while I was doing that, the UPS truck stopped by, and there's a very big box right there. And what is in this box is something I've been looking forward to all week, and I'm so glad it came today, because that worked out pretty well with me making the video today for other stuff. So let's get this box open and take a look at what is in here. There it is. Nothing else in there. The car officially has a grill. Alright, there it is. That is beautiful. I got the badgeless one because the ones with the spot for the badges don't actually come with a badge, and they're actually pretty expensive, and I think this one looks better anyway. So once I'm done messing around with all the coolant and the lights, we'll pop this thing in there, and the car will be complete for the most part. It'll look a lot better. Let's see if we can get kind of a sneak peek of what it'll look like. That's gonna look so much better. See if I can make it kind of sit in place. I don't want to plug the clips in yet, but that looks so much better, even with it not even in right. Just the fact that it has it on there, it looks so much better. Wow. So I have to take the lights and everything out later to rewire some of the stuff on the lights, because I have to take them out and switch a couple bulbs around. So I won't be putting that grill and actually attaching it to the car on yet, but I will be doing it as soon as the lights are done. So it gives me some motivation to get the lights done as soon as possible, so that we can get that grill on there and have a pretty complete looking car. So I'm going to finish up with the coolant and then I'll get started on the lights. Alright Alright, so here's the before and after of the coolant. So this is the before. Look in the handle mostly to see the difference in color. This might have been the second one from earlier, but it was the first. This is the first or second one. And then this is the after. And if you look straight at the container, it looks pretty clear. And then pretty clear in the handle as well. So I would call that a success. All the old nasty stuff is out. All the new good stuff is going to be going in. I'm going to do one more drain right now. It's why it's running, as you can probably hear. And then I'm going to fill it up with the M12 concentrate, and then we will be all done with the flush, and I can begin working on my headlights finally. Alright, so I'm actually about to begin some of the wiring with the lights now. Before I can move on to the front of the car, I have to do stuff to the rear of the car. So as you can look right there, these connectors are shot. Somebody's already replaced some and did a really bad job. And then this thing right here, the wires in it are all loose. So I bought, where did I put them? These little things are the same size as those metal prongs on that light harness. So if I take the plastic covers off of these, they will all fit, and then I can just electrical tape them and slide those on. And I'm going to do that to both sides because there's loose wires in both of the bigger harnesses. Or at least on, yeah, I should probably do it to both. There's a lot of wires on this one, but it has to be done. So I'm going to do all of that and get all of my lights working in the rear completely 100% perfect. And then I will be able to begin with the front, and then I'll get more into why I have to fix the rear first before I have to do the front. But for right now, just know that I need to do the rears first because they are pretty much shots. Alright, so I rewired all of the lights back here, replaced a bad connection that was on this one, and then there's all new connectors down here. You can see the little red things I showed them to you earlier. Got all those sorted, and now every single light works perfectly. So the reason I needed to do this before I went up front is because my front turn signals are really shot, and what I'm going to do for them, I'm going to get the turn signal wires that are back here. I'm going to splice into them and run the wire straight from the ones that are back here all the way to the front, and with those wires I will get some turn signals because the ones up front are just completely destroyed. There's like, I don't even know if they're even still in there anymore, and I don't want to mess with it. So one wire, one right wire, one left wire running through the interior all the way up into the engine bay to the turn signals up front, and that'll solve that issue. So I'm going to be rewiring the high and low beams as well. I have a three-way switch, which I believe is in the back of the car or on the ground back there right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these lights that are in the gauge. You can kind of see those LED strips. I'm going to run those off of the same switch that the high and low beams are on. So when my high and low beams, either one is on, those are on as well. And I'm going to remove all of my ricer lights. They're all going to go bye-bye. I don't want them anymore. No more ricer lights. Goodbye. So I'm going to remove the ones from the back. I'm going to remove all that jank wire and it's lingering back there. I'm going to rip all that out. I'm going to get this switch out of here. This is actually still a good switch, but it's not a three-way switch like I need for the high and low beam. So I have off, low beam, high beam. That's basically how I'm going to run it. And then the gauge lights are going to be hooked up to the high and low beam. So regardless of which one is on, it'll come on. And then I also have a special plan for my halos up front, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do for my turn signals, which is going to be the first thing I do because it's the most important one. You can see there's just wires laying everywhere. I'm guessing there was more lights in here at one point, or these are speaker wire, I don't know, but they're everywhere. So I'm going to get rid of all of it. Be gone. And what I'm going to do, alright, so for the turn signals, you can see I've got these two bulbs right there on either headlight that basically do nothing. They don't serve any purpose at all, but just for looks. So I'm actually going to use those as my turn signals. I got yellow LED bulbs that fit in the sockets for these. I'm going to stick those in there and wire them to the wires that I run from the back for the turn signals. So I'm going to get the turn signals done first, and then I'm going to strip all the racer lights out of the interior, and then I'm going to do the turn signals while I'm back there. I'm going to run those up, finish the turn signals, and then I'm going to try my little trick with the halos. I'll show you guys that later, and then after that's done, I will get the headlights and the gauge lights inside done, and I'm thinking about cleaning some of this mess up right here as well, because that's pretty nasty. And then after that, we should be pretty much good to go. So I'm going to start working on this stuff, and I'll get back with you guys once I have the rice lights out and some wires up here, and I'll probably have the headlights out at that point as well. Alright, so I have removed all of the ricer lights and all of the jank wiring that was just tossed everywhere inside of here. And I had to get the radio out because there's some blue wires that were hooked all the way to it that were all the way in the back, probably for some ghetto subwoofer setup or something. And pulled the radio out, and this is my harness. This is not how you do it. I'm sorry. That is not the proper way to wire a head unit in. So I'm going to fix this, and then I'm going to start putting the dash together, which is all ripped apart. And then I can run the turn signals and get my lights hooked up and everything, and then we'll be done. I'm going to keep these lights in here like I mentioned before. I'm going to run those off the same three-way switch. I'm going to have the switch in the same spot that the blue one was. But first I'm going to get this radio put back together. Look at all that. This is everything that I removed from the interior. Plus these lights. And these lights. These I have a plan for those, so those will return in the future. But everything else is going to go. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then we'll be able to continue with this. And hopefully we'll have some pretty mean looking turn signals and headlights going on by the time I'm done here. Much better. Alright, so I got the little switch block built. I had to give up on this one and use this bigger one because the switch didn't fit in the small one. Drilled a new hole in this. This will just clip into here when I'm ready, but I'm not going to clip it in yet. So now that all that's done, I'm just going to toss this down here. I'm going to let this hang there for now. And I'm going to start running the wires up front for the turn signals, and then I'll pull the headlights out and get my bulbs in. Alright guys, so I got the two wires for the turn signals all the way up here. The shorter one is the right side, the longer one's the left side. I kind of messed that up. The eBay grill is in, but it actually broke all the way across here putting it in. Mainly because this front end is so jacked up that trying to put it in, I broke it. However, I ended up just completely taking this off, and I got everything to clip in to where it's not like gonna fall off, and it does look better than no grill at all. So this will do. I'm gonna go and get some black zip ties and just secure everything a little bit better, but this will do until I have the entire front end. Alright, so the camera actually died on me while I was doing that last bit, but like I said, grill is on, doesn't sit straight. Kind of broken now, but it looks better than it did. And I got the wires up here for the turn signals. Here's the longer one right here. This is the driver's side one. It's just laying right here. I got the passenger one hooked up for the positive. The ground, it's not hooked up yet, but the positive is. And then the grounds for the actual lights themselves are all hooked up. So there's the ground right there, and then it runs over to this one as well. So I'm gonna get the turn signals finished, which all I have to do is get this positive wire hooked up to that bulb. And there's the bulbs I got, little LED things. Hopefully you can see that. And then I'm gonna get those hooked up and then test them and see how bright they are, because I can't get to this bottom one. The only way to take that one out would be to rip this entire front piece off these headlights, and I'm not about to do that. So yeah, no. So I'm just going to put it on the top one and make that the blinker. And then once I've got the turn signal squared away, I will go ahead and start running the wire for the headlights So I'll have to run a power wire from the battery inside to the switch. I'll have to run 2 wires from inside back into the engine bay. One's going to be for the high beams and one's going to be for the low beams. And I'll just have to hook those up to the positive, so I'll have to split them in a couple spots. The low beam one will be split in multiple spots actually. With the high beam will only have 1 wire running off of it. And once that is done, I can hook up my halos in the very special way I came up with, which will make them look amazing. Basically, I'm going to make them function as my day running lights. Alright, the grounds are all hooked up. I got this one's right here is for the blinkers, and then this one right here is the one for the lights. Use the self-drilling bolts I used to mount my core support. There, it's on. It's doing something at least. I don't know how visible that's going to be with the headlights on, but that is a turn signal on the front of the car. I didn't really slow down the blinker speed at all either, but let's check the other side. We got nothing on this side. So I guess the bulb was just in upside down or something, because now they're working. Let's go turn the 4-ways on. And the speed of the 4-ways is actually not bad. Well, there are now turn signals on the front of the car. So that's one major obstacle out of the way and taken care of. So now the next thing to do is to start running power inside to the toggle switch that I have in there, and then start running power back out into the engine bay to run to the headlight. Alright guys, so it's actually the next morning. I got really tired and ran into a couple issues last night with stuff, and it was really cold out and everything, so I decided to wait until next day to finish this. So what ended up happening was I blew a fuse out, the one that heater is attached to. When I was cutting the wires, I forgot to turn the key off, and here I ended up blowing that fuse out. Whatever fuse that is, seems like that one, it's the fuse that also runs like my ignition and stuff, because the car wouldn't start last night. So I'm gonna have to replace that before I can actually drive this thing. And then ran into a problem with running wires in here for the headlights. The little hole in the firewall that I was using for the turn signals, which I'm no longer using, I actually cut them and brought them back through here. It sits too high in this up here, and I can't reach up there and grab the wires when I feed them in. So what I'm doing, first of all, like the halos work now actually, but the fuse blew out when I was cutting the stuff. But so those are actually done. Turn signals are done. I just have to reconnect them. And then once that's done, I can get the headlights done, and we'll be all finished here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill a hole right here. I already started drilling it from the inside out. I'm going to take these 2 wires for my turn signals, and then I'm going to take 3 more wires, which will be the 1 power running to the toggle switch, and then 2 wires coming out also through that hole, and then they can go up through this little gap in the fender and into the engine bay, and I'll be able to like zip tie them up to this maybe or something, even though I think this little thing right here goes into that, but I'll figure something out to hold them in place. But that's what I'm going to do, because there's literally no way to reach up there without ripping this entire dash out. There's no way to get to that hole that's in the firewall to run the wires in. Somebody's obviously done it before, because that's where the starter button is at, but I'm guessing they ripped this whole dash apart to get it in there, because there's no other way to really do it. So yeah, I'm going to get to that, and I'm going to try to get that hole drilled all the way through. I just brought a full battery for the drill out. And I'm going to get that done, and I'm going to get these turn signals hooked back up, and then I can start getting lights done, and then I'll try to figure out which fuse is blown, and maybe we can get this thing completely finished. Alright, so here's the hole, runs all the way through from here, so I'm thinking I should be able to get 5 wires through that, no problem. I also replaced the bad fuse, and the halos work. It's kind of hard to tell right now because we're kind of in the daylight, so the halos aren't super easy to see. But I'll show you those later. But for now, I'm going to get these turn signals hooked back up first. I'm going to go ahead and get this power wire run to my switch. And then I can start running the 2 other power wires through. Once that is all done, everything else is finished. I can put the interior back together, clean up all the wiring, and make it look all nice. And then just pack everything up, and we'll be all done with this finally. Alright guys, so I finally wired the headlights completely up. So the switch is right here. So to the left towards me is my high beams, and you'll watch them on the garage here. You can see the beams right there. And then middle, the spot right here, middle is off. Then all the way to the right are my low beams. So that's done. I'll show you the wiring in a second. The gauge lights, for some reason they wouldn't work. I'm not really sure why. It might have been a bad ground or something, but I'm not really sure. So I've just decided to take that middle piece out so I can work on it later. There's some water or something on the lens. I bet that's been on it the whole time too. I'll worry about those later because I can kind of see the gauges, because these little digital things have lights on them that come on, so it's not a really big deal. I rewired the turn signals, ran everything through that hole right there, and I kind of taped it up so that the wires would stay nice and tucked. So that's where the turn signals and the power wire and the 2 other power wires for the lights run. And then if I have to add anything else, I'll probably use that same spot. I got the interior cleaned all the way out. I removed all the carpet from the back because it was all really gross and smelled funny, and it actually smells better in here already with it gone. Got my black ice helping me out too. So there's that. I did a couple other things the other day that I guess I'll mention right now. First thing, this door panel is actually bolted in, and I pushed it back in place and then taped up the giant rips that were on it just because it bothered the hell out of me. Removed all the stickers, but the minion right there, the devil right here, and the monster on the windshield. Cleaned all the goop off the windows, so now it's completely clean looking. The car looks so much better. Might have noticed I installed hood pins, and there's also, the reason I did that was because I replaced the core support off camera as well. And when I replaced the core support, the hood no longer latched. So I just put hood pins on it. That fixed the issue. I also fixed some of the bolts on the headlights off camera a couple times. All that happened a little while ago actually. But other than that, I haven't really messed with much. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the wiring, and I'll turn the 4-ways on so I can show you the LEDs and the blinkers. They're not very bright during the daytime, but they're something at least. So let's go take a look. All my wires, this right here is the power wire for the headlights. It runs inside, and in here is the 2 wires for the blinkers, and then the other 2 wires for the high and low beam. I kind of taped them up to make them look nice, and I used this clip that was already here. Random wires to that gap in the fender right there all the way up. Got these little terminals hooked up right here. This one right here is the that's the high beam. This one right here is the ground, and this one all the way to the right is the low beam, so that's where it's hooked up. And then they're split off right here, some of the wires running along. I zip tied the wires up to the core support with these nice hot pink zip ties. There's butt connectors all over everything, but I tried to hide most of them with electrical tape. Right here's the harness that the halos are hooked up to. That actually tucks up into the intake manifold and then comes back out, and then here's the ballast for them right there. Wires for the other light, and then of course they run back up. So it all looks really clean, way better than that mess I had in here before. Right here, this is what the stock headlight harness hooked up into. So I may try to use that later on in the future for other things, but for now I'm not going to worry about it because everything I need to be legal now is on the car. And then here you can see the blinkers on, or the 4-ways are on. You can also kind of tell the halos are on. I'll try to get a shot later tonight when it's a little bit darker, maybe when the sun's just starting to go down so it's not pitch black, to show you those. But they look really good on their own. This bottom bulb right here is not hooked up at all. I don't have it hooked up to the headlights or anything. I'm probably not going to use it at all. I'll just leave it doing nothing more than likely. So yeah, everything is done. And now you can see my coolant level is sitting pretty good. I'm gonna end up topping it off a little bit actually, because it's a little bit below the minimum line, but it's pretty close. So I would call that a pretty successful, I guess, over a day, a little bit. Got all the wiring for all of the lights and everything redone, at least cleaned up, so that when I go to add like the gauge lights or anything else, it'll be super easy. I do know I need the gauge light and I need a license plate light. I still don't have either one of those, but now that I have all the power wire rerun and everything, it'll be really easy to get both of those on there as well. Headlights all work, high and low beam, turn signals in the front. I'll probably end up using those LED strips in the future, because these LEDs aren't exactly really easy to see, the ones that are in there. But they work, it's something. So anyway guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you've enjoyed, and make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one.